Where is Paul Atkins, the new SEC chair? Why hasn't he been confirmed yet? It's on everyone's mind. We got an update today. What has been the holdup? And do we expect to get this across the finish line? Because he's pro crypto. He believes more in a hands off approach. This is going to be bullish for the whole space. Of course, SEC has been active, but I think to get some of the more complicated things done, they need him in his chair. We got an update on if that's going to happen and when it's likely to happen. We're also have the SEC talking about rolling back some Biden era regulations on the crypto space that are really a drag, really just add costs and complications. This is exciting. We'll talk about it. And then we have a couple of drivers to keep our eyes on. Big events this week that may be big catalysts for the next leg up. So we're going to dig into it. So first and foremost, Paul Atkins. I mean, I guess this is to be expected. We saw Gary Gensler. He took till early April. And then you had Jay Clayton that took till May. So it can take a while to get these SEC chairs confirmed. What they're telling us with Paul Atkins, there's no problem. Everything's expected to go well. But really the delay has been he's putting his financial disclosures in order. It's more complicated than most. He has a billionaire wife that has a wide variety of businesses she owns. It's quite complicated. They got to put all that paperwork in order, all those disclosures properly, and get them ready to hand in. That's all we're waiting for. We do expect him to get confirmed shortly, and that's going to be massive because, you look at things like the Ripple case, and that might wind up sooner. We've been hearing reports they're working on something, but, that's more complicated because you've already had a judge rule and you have to figure out how to unwind some of this stuff and how you want to approach it, and probably will be helpful to have the new SEC chair. So if it doesn't happen here shortly, I expect that to happen shortly after Paul Atkins takes his position here. Secondarily, and somewhat associated with that, is a safe harbor. We've heard that the SEC may issue some safe harbor to the space. Admit that the rules have been unclear, giving people clearance for things that have happened in the past, and giving them some time to come into compliance. Now, with that will come some sort of guidance, of course. Now, that could be especially helpful for Ripple, because if they admit that, if they release a safe harbor, well, that is something that changes everything. And you could take that back to Judge Torres and say, look, every crypto company out there gets absolved of their sins in the past. We shouldn't be treated any different. And something like that could be enough for her to waive all or most of the penalties and get rid of that injunction that they have, which may be most troubling. Probably the injunction goes away anyway. If the SEC isn't trying to push it, they can probably get rid of that. So that'll be interesting. I think that's going to be a very important step. And lastly, they've been talking about it, but we got to get some rulemaking going. We know Congress is going to pass regulations at some point this year, but they still have to go for, there'll be stuff within crypto that are securities that need to register, and you need to have a clear path for that to happen. They got to get to work with some sensible rulemaking and getting guidance out to the marketplace. So a lot of that's on hold until we get the SEC chair actually confirmed. It's expected to happen, and that process should pick up the pace as he gets his paperwork turned in. Then they can start scheduling that confirmation, and there's not expected to be any roadblocks here. He should be in his seat soon, and just the day he becomes new SEC chair, that's going to be bullish for the whole crypto space. Now, we had this this Biden era regulation that in order for crypto to be integrated within traditional finance, you had to have what they called a qualified custodian. Who are qualified custodians? Well, they're banks and qualified trust companies. Well, these aren't the professionals within the crypto space. So if you want to go and you want to have Coinbase be your custodian because, well, they're the professionals. They have the knowledge. They have the experience. They're the ones that know how to secure this crypto. Well, you have to form these unnecessary partners with banks and trust companies, and they're really just lending their name and their licensure and nothing more than that. So you're adding complications to this process and you're adding more costs. And that's not great. You're not really doing anything to protect investors. You're just slowing things down, making it more costly, making it a harder, adoption process. And so if we can roll that back and get rid of that and have a more sensible regulation saying, you know what, you have the experience, you have the know-how, you have the tech, you have the proper insurances and bonds and procedures and all this stuff, then we don't need to have something from the old school. You can go ahead and handle it. And I think that's the way this is going. And this is really going to help adoption in a significant way, because you have a lot of people that just can't jump in here yet because of these antiquated ways of looking at this market. So rolling back that regulation for qualified custodians, I think makes a lot of sense, even though we want good custodians. We want customers' funds to be safe. We just don't want to be silly with our rulemaking. Lastly, the things I'm keeping an eye on this week, of course, tomorrow there's a big talk between President Trump and President Putin. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to accomplish anything, but if they emerge from this talk either after tomorrow or shortly thereafter with some sort of ceasefire deal, it's going to be bullish. Beyond just the humanitarian thing of war, which will be great for the world to put behind us, you have this infinity money pit right now, and to get rid of that, it's going to be better for the global economy. Of course, you had the food production out of Ukraine, and energy can start flowing more into Europe. It's just going to be a great event. Hopefully that happens. I'm not saying it will. I'm not, I have no idea. I'm not a geopolitical expert, but just keep your eye on that situation. If something happens there, it could be a major catalyst. Now, you also have April 2nd deadline where tariffs are supposed to escalate. Well, that could also be something that drives deals here. Now, I've heard a lot of people that think that something's going to get done with China. I'm not so hopeful for that. I could see those trade problems continuing on for the foreseeable future. We've seen that in the past. I don't want miracles here. But if that could drive a deal with Mexico, Canada, and Europe, if they can get those in line, those deals, man, it's going to be bullish. You're going to see this space take off, and it could happen. And a lot of the people out there, they're saying it might happen even with China. Only time will tell. If it was all four of them, it's going to be crazy town. And lastly, we have the Fed talking this week. Consensus is that we probably will not see a reduction in interest rates, not this time, but it's all about the guidance here. Do they sound very dovish? Do we think they're going to pivot here and start going into quantitative easing? They're talking about maybe one rate cut this year. Market consensus seems to feel there's going to be 3.5, which feels about right for me. We'll see what we hear from the Fed this week, but if it sounds dovish, I think markets will like it, and that could be another driver. There's a lot of great things that could send this space going up in a big way. We just have to see it play out. I don't have all the answers. I can't tell you exactly how this plays out, but there are plenty of things, man, that if they fall our way, it's going to be absolutely massive. Make sure you'll see at the side these really cool locked-in XRP hats. Get yourself one. We got some links down below if you need a hardware wallet from Ledger or a new exchange. Make sure you have plenty of on-ramps and off-ramps. Kraken exchange is one of my favorite. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.